It was the fall of 2010, and I remember it like it was yesterday. My name is Josh, and back then, I was 22, fresh out of community college, working a dead-end job at a warehouse in Olympia. My buddies Zach and Jeremy were in the same boat. Zach was the laid-back one, always cracking jokes to lighten the mood, and Jeremy was the planner, the guy who mapped out every adventure like it was a military op. We grew up together in Tumwater, Washington, a quiet suburb south of Olympia, where not much ever happened. That October, we decided to shake things up by hitting the Rutledge Corn Maze. It was a local staple, tucked away off 93rd Avenue Southeast, just a short drive from our neighborhood. The farm had been around for about a decade by then, drawing crowds every fall with its massive cornfield labyrinth, pumpkin patch, and that infamous haunted section that opened after dark. We'd heard stories about the place, how it was family-friendly by day, but turned into a nightmare fuel fest at night, with actors in costumes jumping out to scare you. But we weren't kids anymore. We figured it'd be a fun way to relive some childhood thrills without taking it too seriously. "Come on, dudes," Zach had said over burgers at the diner that afternoon. "It's Halloween season. What's the worst that could happen? We get lost and starve to death among the corn stalks?" Jeremy rolled his eyes but agreed, pulling up the farm's website on his flip phone to check the hours. They were open until 10 p.m. on weekends, and since it was a Friday, we timed it to arrive just as the sun was dipping below the horizon, around 6:30. The air was crisp, carrying that earthy smell of damp soil and decaying leaves, and a light fog was rolling in from the nearby Black Lake. As we pulled into the gravel parking lot in Jeremy's beat-up Ford Ranger, the place was buzzing. Families with little kids were wrapping up their daytime visits, hauling pumpkins to their cars, while groups of teens like us lined up for the evening attractions. The entrance was marked by a big wooden sign, "Rutledge Family Farm, get lost in the fun." Strings of orange lights hung from the barn, and hay bales were stacked everywhere. We paid our $10 each at the ticket booth, where a cheerful older woman in a flannel shirt handed us maps of the maze. "Stick to the paths, boys," she warned with a wink, "and if you opt for the haunted trail, watch out for the ghouls." We laughed it off and grabbed some hot cider from the concession stand before heading in. The maze itself was huge, acres of tall corn stalks rustling in the breeze, divided into sections. There was the kid-friendly part with puzzles and checkpoints, and then the haunted maze, which was roped off with caution tape and fake cobwebs. Signs warned, "Enter at your own risk, not recommended for the faint of heart." Naturally, that's the one we chose. Zach led the way, map in hand, though he admitted he was terrible at directions. "This'll be easy," he boasted. "We'll be out in 20 minutes, tops." Jeremy snatched the map from him. "Yeah, right. Last time we trusted you, we ended up circling the same block for an hour." I just smiled, trailing behind, my phone in my pocket. Back then, it was a basic Nokia, no GPS or anything fancy. We stepped through the entrance arch, made of twisted vines and plastic skeletons, and the world outside faded away. The cornstalks towered over us, at least 8 feet high, their leaves whispering like secrets as we pushed forward. The path was narrow, packed dirt underfoot, with occasional hay bales and scarecrows propped up for effect. At first, it was all laughs. An actor in a clown mask jumped out from behind a corner, honking a horn, and Zach yelped like a little girl, which had Jeremy and me doubled over. "Dude, that was pathetic," I teased. We snapped a few blurry photos with our phones, the flash cutting through the growing dusk. The sky above was turning a deep purple, and the fog thickened, making the air feel heavier. About 10 minutes in, things started to feel off. The haunted actors were sporadic. Another one popped out as a zombie, groaning and reaching for us, but after that, the scares tapered off. We hit a fork in the path, and Jeremy consulted the map under the beam of his flashlight keychain. "Left should take us toward the center," he said. We went left, but the path seemed to narrow, the corn pressing in closer. The rustling grew louder, not just from the wind, but like something brushing against the stalks deliberately. "You hear that?" I asked, stopping short. Zach paused, tilting his head. "Probably just the actors messing with us." But Jeremy frowned. "Nah, the map says the haunted zone ends back there. This should be the regular maze now." We kept going, but the fun vibe was slipping. The fog was so dense now that visibility dropped to maybe 10 feet ahead. Our footsteps crunched on the dry husks, echoing strangely. Then we heard it, a low whisper, like someone murmuring just out of earshot. "What the hell?" Zach muttered. We froze, straining to listen. It came again, indistinct words, almost like a chant, fading in and out with the wind. "Hello?" Jeremy called out, his voice cracking a bit. No response. "Probably the wind," I said, trying to sound convincing, but my heart was picking up pace. We pushed on, turning another corner, and that's when we found the first weird thing. A small clearing with a wooden post in the middle, like an old signpost, but instead of directions, it had a doll nailed to it. Not a scarecrow doll, a real-looking baby doll, its porcelain face cracked, eyes staring blankly. "That's not part of the attraction," Zach said, stepping closer. "Look, it's got real hair or something." Jeremy shone his light on it. "Creepy as hell. Maybe some kids left it here." We laughed nervously and moved past it, but the whispers didn't stop. They seemed to follow us, always just behind or to the side. At one point, I swear I felt a breath on the back of my neck, cold and deliberate. I spun around, nothing but corn. "Guys, this isn't funny," I said, assuming one of them was pranking me. But they were both ahead, looking as uneasy as I felt. We hit a dead end, backtracked, and that's when the arguing started. Zach wanted to go right. Jeremy insisted left. "The map says," Jeremy began, but Zach cut him off. "Screw the map. We've been in here for like 40 minutes already." It had been longer than we thought. My phone showed 7:45 p.m. In the heat of the moment, we split up briefly. Jeremy stormed off one way to prove his point, while Zach and I went the other. "We'll meet back here in 5, I called after him. Bad idea. Zach and I rounded a bend, and the whispers turned into footsteps, heavy, deliberate crunching behind us. We picked up speed, jogging now, the corn whipping at our faces. "Josh, wait up!" Zach panted. Then a shadow darted across the path ahead, a tall, lanky figure, cloaked in darkness, vanishing into the stalks before we could get a good look. "Did you see that?" I whispered. Zach nodded, wide-eyed. "Not an actor. That thing was too fast." We yelled for Jeremy, our voices swallowed by the maze. No answer. Panic set in. We backtracked to the split, but he wasn't there. The fog was like soup now, and the temperature had dropped, our breaths visible. That's when my phone buzzed. A text from Jeremy. "Where are you? I hear something." But when I tried to reply, no signal. "Great," Zach groaned. We pushed deeper, calling his name, and stumbled into another clearing. This one had more dolls, dozens of them, strung up on strings like macabre ornaments, swaying gently. In the center was a pile of what looked like animal bones arranged in a circle. "What the fuck is this?" Zach breathed. I didn't know, but it felt wrong, like we'd wandered into something not meant for visitors. The footsteps returned, closer this time, circling us. We bolted, crashing through the corn off the path. Big mistake. The stalks tangled our legs, and we lost all sense of direction. Zach tripped over something, face planting into the dirt. When he got up, his hand was bloody. He'd cut it on a sharp rock. But as I helped him, I saw what he'd tripped on, an old shoe, weathered and torn, like it'd been there for years. Nearby, half buried, was a wallet. I picked it up, flipping it open under the flashlight. Inside was an ID, some guy named Michael Harlan from Seattle, dated 2005. "This is old," I said, like really old. Zach's face paled. "Josh, look." Scratched into the wallet's leather were words, "It watches from the corn." We didn't have time to process it. A guttural growl echoed from the stalks, not an animal, but human, twisted. We ran blindly, hearts pounding until we burst back onto a path. There was Jeremy, looking frantic. "Guys, I saw someone, tall, wearing rags, just standing there staring." We compared notes. He'd heard the whispers too, felt watched. "We need to get out," I said. "But which way?" The map was useless now. We'd gone too far off course. As we huddled, deciding on a direction, the figure appeared again, at the end of the path, silhouetted against the faint moonlight filtering through the fog. It was humanoid, but wrong, limbs too long, posture hunched like it was imitating a person. It didn't move like the actors, no dramatic flair, just silent observation. Then it tilted its head, and we heard it whisper something unintelligible. We turned and ran the opposite way, but the maze seemed to shift. Paths we'd taken before were gone, replaced by walls of corn. Jeremy's flashlight flickered, batteries dying, and in the dim light we saw more signs of abandonment, rusted cans, shredded clothing, even a child's backpack with faded crayons spilling out. The pursuit began in earnest. The thing, whatever it was, didn't chase outright, but herded us, blocking paths with sudden rustles and shadows. At one point, Zach glanced back and screamed, "It's right there!" I looked, eyes glinting in the dark, pale skin stretched over bone. It was gaining. We zigzagged, lungs burning, until we hit the edge of the maze, or what we thought was the edge. Instead, it opened into a hidden section, overgrown and forgotten. In the center stood an old shed, boards rotting, door ajar. Desperate, we ducked inside, barricading the door with a broken crate. Inside was worse. The walls were scrawled with messages. "It lives here. Don't look, the corn takes." Newspaper clippings yellowed with age pinned up, stories from the 90s and early 2000s about missing people in the area, hikers, kids at farms. One headline, "Local man vanishes at corn festival, search called off." And photos, grainy Polaroids of people in the maze, their faces twisted in fear, dated back to when the farm first opened. "This place has a history," Jeremy whispered, his voice shaking. "I remember hearing rumors as a kid about the land being cursed or something, old native stories about spirits in the fields." We didn't have time for theories. Banging started on the door, slow, methodical thuds. The whispers seeped through the cracks. "Friends, forever." Zach hyperventilated. Jeremy clutched a rusty nail like a weapon. I searched for an exit, a loose board in the back wall. We pried it open, squeezing through into the night air. The banging stopped abruptly. We ran, not looking back, crashing through corn until, miraculously, we saw lights, the farm's entrance, glowing like a beacon. We burst out, gasping, covered in dirt and scratches. The ticket lady was still there, closing up. "You boys all right? You look like you've seen a ghost." We babbled about the figure, the dolls, the shed. She chuckled at first, thinking we were spooked by the actors, but her face changed when we mentioned the shed. "There's no shed in the maze," she said flatly. "And we don't have dolls or any of that. Must have wandered off the property." But her eyes darted nervously to the fields. We drove home in silence, too shaken to speak. That night, I couldn't sleep, kept hearing whispers in the wind outside my window. The next day, I looked up the farm online. Buried in local forums were threads from years back, people claiming similar experiences, shadows in the corn, missing items found later. One post from 2008, "Lost my brother in Rutledge Maze. Cops said he ran away, but I saw something take him." And Michael Harlan? A quick search showed he went missing in 2005, last seen at a harvest fair nearby. We never went back. Zach moved away a year later, said the nightmares wouldn't stop. Jeremy and I still talk, but we avoid the subject. As for the maze, it's still there, drawing crowds every fall. But if you're thinking of visiting, stick to the daylight hours, because at night, in the fog, something watches from the corn. And it doesn't like to let go.